All right, we are live. It's the waitingfornextyear.com podcast. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Normally, we're talking sports. We're trying to do something a little bit different this week. No. We're not talking politics the day before the election. We are talking music with Ray Flanagan, one of my favorite Cleveland musicians. And he's got a new song coming out on Friday this week called The Arsenal. I've gotten the sneak preview. It's a really excellent song. How's it going, Ray?
Good, Craig. Nice to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while, as is with 2020. It's been a while since any of us have seen each other. Before we get to the song, and I want to talk to you about it because I've heard it, and I think it's kind of different and interesting compared to some of the other stuff you've put out. Before we get there, you are a full-time working musician. How long have you been a full-time professional working musician in Cleveland?
I quit my warehouse job in the spring of 2016. So whatever that makes it, almost 4 years or something like that. Is that gonna be 5 next year? I guess. Yeah.
And so what has 2020 been like for you? You know, and I'm sure it's been a total pain in the butt in a lot of ways. But I'm just interested in your perspective. If you could kind of go back in time and, you know, once the gigs started getting canceled and for justified reasons and everything else, I mean, the uncertainty for everybody has been crazy. And for you in particular, it had to be especially painful.
Yeah, I'm real glad that I don't got kids or anything right at this point in time. Because for me, I feel like it's been an easy year, just a very strange year. The community has really stepped up and helped a lot of us out through different ways. You know, I mean, the amount of donations that we've got from, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but also I know friends of mine that have been kept afloat by the community during this time, and I don't know, when I heard that Mike DeWine was like, oh, somebody's like, oh, he's going to close down bars and restaurant. I was like, there's no way. Like, this is America. We're not going to close down bars and restaurants. And then when it happened, I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be something else. And then what else can you do other than just kind of sit back and from day to day, because you don't really know there's a lot of uncertainty. I think that's the part about it that's the most stressful to me, especially going in the winter, is just not knowing. But I also I just don't worry about money that much. I just kind of like, I always figure like, you're gonna, if I'm putting stuff out there, like it's gonna come back in some way. I'm not motivated by it, I guess, is more why I'm more have a sense of humor about what's going on in terms of my life. I feel a lot worse for a lot of people that have a bunch of employees and things like that to deal with and other expenses. For me, I just got to make sure I can pay my rent and make my car payment, which is, end up being a challenge here, January, February, whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, it's been a weird one, but it's been I kind of like, also enjoy the time off. I'm kind of it's given me a chance to, there's a blessing in all of it, that I get to kind of maybe think about what square one is and what I really want to do, instead of just hounding away doing 10 gigs a week, whatever, in bars and restaurants where, I'm making a living, but it's not necessarily based in my art. I'm entertaining patrons. That's I feel like it's a pretty nutshell what it's been like this year for me. Watch a lot of
Yeah, well,
movies.
and that's an interesting thing, I think, for a lot of people. I've got, between you and some other friends of mine, I feel like I get a glimpse into the life of a working musician in Cleveland. But I think there are a lot of people who didn't realize that you could be a full-time professional musician in Cleveland. And I think in addition to the support of the community, one of the things that's been really heartening for me to see, and I can't speak to it directly, but like a lot of those organizations that had music in the budget, if they could keep it in and turn it into a live stream, they were trying to do that to keep the gigs that they could keep.
There has been quite a bit of that. People that have, they got whatever grant money or some kind of funding for that they would normally put on a music series, and they've just kind of moved them into live series. You know, the Warehouse District in Cleveland did that, and Brent and I just played this. Brent Kirby, great Cleveland singer-songwriter, if y'all don't know, he's in a bunch of bands, but we just did a stream at the Malls Performing Arts Center, which was a beautiful space. You know, they normally would do all these things, and they decided to aim it at local music because, I don't know, they're just good people. And I feel like I've noticed an appreciation for music and for art during all of this. In the few gigs that I have played, like we were playing at Forest City Brewery because we can play outside there and it's a big spread out space. And the owner, Jay, was real, you know, strict about taking the precautions and following the guidelines. It felt like people were listening a little more. I think they didn't take it. I think it just, you know, in those situations, it can become kind of background music, which is fine. You know, you're there to just kind of amplify someone's good time in those situations. But yeah, I don't know. There has been everybody's just trying to find their makeshift ways to get through it from week to week, and nobody really. It's just funny, you know, the people that have small businesses and are entrepreneurs and independent people. Those are the people that you want that freedom to run your own life. You also have to. It's a harder work, you know. It's harder work than just like. Not to take anything away from anybody, but it's just there's more uncertainty than just having a W-2, you know, at a 9 to 5. There's just more uncertainty.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things it's interesting that people are listening a little bit harder. That jives kind of with my own experience, just because I'm a pretty big music fan. Mm-hmm. You know, I used to be a performer. Now I try and support everybody as best as I possibly can. And I just, you know, going to live music is kind of like my church. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been able to do it for like 8 or 9 months. And so it's interesting to me that I don't feel like the kind of person who ever took it for granted, but mm-hmm. even when you feel like you're not taking it for granted, God damn, I was taking it for granted.
Sure. Yeah, I know. It is a weird, I don't know. I'm surprised I had as many articulate thoughts as I just had, because usually I'm just mumbling when people ask me about this stuff. This is not, now I've got some things worked out, but you know.
So one of the things that I was doing ahead of this was listening to the new song, and mm-hmm. You know, I've listened to all of your stuff. You know, you had
since way solo back. You probably heard stuff that I pulled down from the public.
You did there, and I can't. I was trying to think of the name of the song that on your first. It was probably like you considered it your demo. There was one song on there.
Your kid liked their song called "Stranded" that I don't even remember how to play anymore. I remember that. I did. I was thinking about that. I was like, I'm gonna talk to Craig. I remember you, because that was from the very first Authorities thing, which is it's good. I have a bunch of CDs. If anybody wants one, you can have one, but I don't. I felt like, I don't know, I pulled it down. It just isn't whatever, you know. I feel like with independent music, you kind of get that right a little bit, because it doesn't go through all the quality control that it would have to be on a big label or something back in the day. So I put something out without really the correct, you know, without having that third ear on it, you know, then I just feel like, artistically, I just want to pull it down. But I remember that, and then there was a song on the other record that I don't remember who the other person had a kid that they liked, and that one was like a heavier song, and I was like, man. But yeah, Stranded. I don't even remember how to play that song anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, because I always wonder how much overall direction, or how much, you know, like if you're a small business owner, you'd be coming up with a business plan, and you'd be very specific about, well, this is my mission statement, and this is who I'm going to be. And, you know, you've been around for a long time, since the rock off and all that kind of stuff. You could have mm-hmm. gone harder rock. You could have been guitar guy. You've kind of ended up in kind of a singer-songwriter zone, but then you rock out with the Authorities. Mm-hmm. It seems focused and unfocused simultaneously to pretty good effect.
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty succinct way to look at it, focused and unfocused at the same time.
I probably thought about you more than you've thought about you.
I don't think about anything other than artistic direction. So in terms of like, you watch me do these different things and I just play whatever I feel like playing at any given time. And sometimes I'm working more with an acoustic guitar, and then sometimes I'm, Eddie Van Halen died, and I've been playing my I've been playing my Jackson Randy Rhodes. Like that's what's been making me happy in October. I just been kind of going over his life and his accomplishments and what he means to me and everything. And so I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really think about. There's a focus in terms of if I have an idea or I'm hearing something, I just know I try to do what I have to do to get to as close to what I'm hearing in my head. But other than that, I don't think about it in terms of the arc of a career or what's the next move or what's the next. It's just kind of I've got different music that's inside of me that comes out in different ways. So,
Well, and so the latest one, the Arsenal, it's hard for me not to look at it just kind of in the perspective of the other stuff. To me, it sounds nothing like the stuff that you put out on Passerby. It sounds nothing like I'm pretty sure it was just a live recording. You guys did a bunch of takes of the Stupid Sound, which was one of my favorite songs from last year.
Well, that
I
one
thought that was great.
that one was completely live, except for the vocal harmonies. But the Stupid Sound was, which is that's I think it's the only Ray Flanagan and the Authorities song that's currently on the streaming platforms. I still feel good about the way that one turned out. But the Arsenal was actually not live, if that was what you want to get into.
Yeah, I just wondered kind of where it came from. And before you start, I'm just going to say that it doesn't ape anything, but to me, it sounds very much very, very influenced by. It sounds like it could have been written for a Tom Petty record, to be perfectly honest.
That's cool, man. I'll take that. There's definitely that's funny because there's definitely a way that I think about Tom Petty in that song with the acoustic guitars and the way I layered those guitars. Yeah, I would say you're not off on that. And Tom Petty is a hero. So, but I have this thing with that tune is kind of, musically it's kind of in this Petty thing in terms of maybe the acoustic guitars and the straight drum beat. But then it's also kind of, I've got this thing where I'm constantly trying to get closer and closer to putting together sort of the what I know about metal guitar playing and music, which is a lot, and trying to get those things to coexist with, like Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen, Neil Young songwriting type stuff. So I would say lyrically, it's actually more from like a Rob Halford type place, like Judas Priest always has those songs like Dissident Aggressor and Exciter and Jawbreaker, and there are all these things. And I saw it like the Arsenal, like the Sentinel, whatever. So I think it's kind of lyrically, I feel like I have a knack for more like that kind of like image laden poetry than I do to be as straightforward as like a Tom Petty or something.
Well, and rhythmically, I think it's more complex too.
Yeah, it's kind of got some weird, almost proggy elements to it, but I don't know. And the song, I don't know what it's inspired by. I don't like even really want to get into that because it's probably inspired by some things I saw in the news, but I wouldn't call it a political song. It's just like some things that I felt, after some stuff that was going on. Yeah, and then we recorded it. I laid it down like just the acoustic stuff, and then I knew I wanted drums. And it was recorded during the Passerby sessions. So I was like doing the solo record, and I kind of wanted to get some people in that I normally didn't work with. And I got Danny Jenkins, who's a drummer for a band called the Speed Bumps that I play with for a long time. But Danny's amazing. And he came in and just knocked it out. And then my buddy Dave Shaw, who normally plays guitar, played bass on it. And he also, recently, now that I've was digging through stuff and found this song from a couple of years ago, I added some guitars to it, and then I had Dave mix it, and we added some backing vocals on it. Originally, it was recorded. The main bed track of everything was recorded by Jim Stewart, the great Jim Stewart, the Red Wizard of Cleveland.
Yeah, well, and that the passerby session just, kind of felt like a page out of your notebook. And
Hmm.
it was cool. I'm not saying it was like unfinished or unworthy. It's just that's what it was to me.
Hmm.
And it was a cool look into, well, this is a phase in the process where, you know, this is a phase in the process before it
Yeah.
goes to a full band or it becomes something else, or you put 17 layers on top of it.
Yeah, I didn't labor any over any of that stuff. It was really that's a pretty good. It was kind of like my notebook, like especially like I like the way that record turned out because I set parameters on it because I had a budget and I also was like, you get in over your head, and then if you start adding too much stuff, you got to spend more money in order to complete it. Really, if you want people to come in on it, because I can only play guitar. It's not like I could play drums on the stuff or whatever. So I set parameters like this is going to be as much of my voice and guitar as possible. And I recorded a lot of those songs. I think I recorded something like 15 songs for Passerby, and then there's 7 that ended up making it that made sense together. Uh, they uh, they were all ones that ended up being kind of more just me and guitar with some other elements floating around and adding different colors to that central thing of me and my guitar and my voice. And it they were all kind of recorded pretty close to right when they were written. So now I'm like there's a song Lord's Day Blues on there, which I still play. And I listen to it. I'm like, well, I play it a little different and I think a lot better now. But I'm glad that it got captured in its infancy because then that's if you don't record them sometimes right when you write them, that's how you end up with it sitting around. And then it's just like I've got probably 50 songs that I may never come out because I don't know if it would take so much effort to get back in the headspace to record them. You become a different person.
No, that's a really interesting way to put it, especially because, in your typical lifestyle, you write this song and you may record the demo, and then you could be playing 12 gigs in a week where you might be goofing off with it and tweaking it, and
Right.
who maybe somebody makes a noise at the bar when you're playing it at like this one time, and then you make some kind of an adjustment, and then something sticks. And it's almost like a stand-up comedian. Usually when I thought of musicians growing up, it was like, all right, well, you work it out in the basement or the garage or the studio or wherever it is, and then you take it out live. But guys like Brent Kirby, who are playing 10, 12, 14 times a week, however many it is in a typical week when things are normal, like that gives you a chance to let these things live and breathe and become something over the course of a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about being a gigging musician and someone who doesn't really tour, like I've played out of town a tiny little bit by myself, and then I've done some touring as a guitar player for other people. But yeah, the gigging thing does help you get to work stuff out and realize what's going to work in certain situations and what's not. But also doing the kind of gigs that we do is not a true representation of what it is if you got an audience that heard the song and likes the song. Because for instance, in the case of Passerby, like a lot of it, it's kind of like in a quieter, a little bit darker place. And I
Mhm.
pretty much don't play any of those songs. Like if I'm playing at the Treehouse in Tremont or whatever, like I don't. If I'm playing at some bar, I don't really because I know what works in those situations. Uh, and you do it is playing in a bar is a little more like being a stand-up comedian because you kind of gotta you gotta cater you don't gotta cater but you gotta I don't know. It's not, I don't know because comedy's different because you have to get a reaction out of people. You have to get them to laugh. Like I never think it's good when people are clapping at a comedy show. It's supposed to be involuntary. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's two different worlds. That's kind of what I'm saying about rethinking a lot of what I'm doing. Like I love playing gigs and it's fun, but like I also think I want to start to focus I just, it just happened. It just snowballed. All of a sudden, I was just saying yes to all these things, and then I turn around, and all of a sudden, I got all these gigs, and I was playing all these, and it's cool, and I like it, but um, I really think in the next year, I'm going to think about ways to focus more on my art, even though I am not someone that likes to wear a lot of hats. Like I'm not gonna want to be. I don't want to be my own booking agent, my own manager, my own stylist, and whatever. Maybe my own stylist because I don't want nobody to tell me what to wear. But yeah.
That's another thing. That's something that I've talked a lot about with our mutual friend Jason Myers, and I've probably talked to Brent about it over the years too. Like the boot camp, when I played in bands, one of the things that we always focused on was like being the band that was prepared and there on time with working equipment and everything else. And like,
Yeah.
did that always come natural to you I mean, you started so young, like obviously wanted to do this with the rock off and everything else, like being a professional and being like, you wouldn't have all those gigs. You wouldn't be able to do what you do in a normal time if you weren't trustworthy, if bar owners and gig bookers couldn't count on you. Like, did that come natural toward you, or did you learn some hard lessons about being responsible?
Oh, I mean, I'm still learning hard lessons about being responsible, but well, I mean, Brent is a very important person in my life. I think he was like the first person. I started coming to Cleveland, and I never thought that you could be a full-time musician. You grow up, and I grew up in Medina, and it's just kind of a rural little country town, whatever. When you talk about playing music, and even when people talk to you and you figure out your ways to handle what people really mean when they say something to you, but it's like, somebody will come up to you and be like, "So are you like trying to make it? Like you trying to like get big or whatever?" It's like, well, it's not that cut and dry. There are people on
It should
every
be like,
level.
yes, I'm trying to be the next Train.
Are you saying that because you know that I opened for Train? Or are you saying that?
I may have known that you opened for Train, but those guys can sell out any room in America. So there's something to be said for that.
And for the record, they're all like super nice. That dude Pat
and
Monahan,
he's a killer singer. A killer singer.
Yeah, they did this weird thing. You ever seen that thing where they made Led Zeppelin 2 over again? Because when it was like I don't remember. The sound went out at Blossom or something, and so they booked a makeup show because the sound went on the lawn, and they booked it at Nautica on a night off. And then I got a call from somebody in town that I knew that whatever. But
which, to their credit, they totally do not have to do. That was a stand-up move.
And it was like everybody at the Nautica, from security guards up to the people in the office, all had nothing but good things to say. Like they love when Train comes in because they treat everybody well. And yeah, I remember that dude Pat, and one of their auxiliary guitar player guy. He's from North Olmsted or something like that. He was super cool. But
well, Pat's from Erie or something.
Oh, is he? Because he was like on a treadmill. He had a treadmill backstage that must have been on his rider, and he was running. And he like listened to my set, and then he came up and said nice things to me afterwards. Like I was just like, whoa, that's cool. Like I got a different perspective on Train, and just the way that they did that for the people. Like they value the people that come to see them. But it was weird because they were in their sound check. They were playing all Led Zeppelin songs, and I was like, "What is happening?" Like Train is dude, and it was great. I thought it was weird that they did that record, but I heard they did it for charity, so whatever. But
well, and he did for like one of Howard Stern's birthday parties. He went on there and sang all the Led Zeppelin songs because, as a vocalist, I mean, you can't get much higher than singing Led Zeppelin. Right. And so, if you can. You feel like you're robbing the world if you don't.
We just watched. I was at Brent's house the other day for like his son's birthday party, and because Brent's kind of been in my COVID circle, because I play with him and stuff, and
got to have a circle by the stage of the game.
You got to, and but it gets a little bigger, whatever, but. He got this projector. We were watching, me and Brent and Bobby Latino were watching the song Remains the Same on the side of Brent's garage. Like he had this big projector and like his life size, like 5 of Jimmy Page playing. It was cool. But
That's awesome.
no, but what the how we got on this tangent is just that I didn't to back it way up, but there's all these levels of people in the industry, you know, that and there's so many people that are doing very important things, that worked on records that you love, and do all kinds of things that whose names you don't know. You know, the people whose names you know are kind of few and far between, but it's an entire huge industry of people that work for a living. And I think for me, learning how to be I don't know, how to conduct yourself and how to treat people. I think I've just been around other great. Cleveland's a great city to work as a musician. You know, there's all kinds of places to play. There's not really a music industry here, so there is a ceiling in terms of like how far you can go within the local scene. But if you just want to work, I mean, it's awesome. And there's so many. Michael Bay, a great blues guitar player here in Cleveland, was a big early mentor for me, and then Brent and Becky Boyd, who I love to go see, and she's just like amazing. And Roger Hoover is another person that I learned a lot of stuff from, and Eric Uricki from the Speed Bumps. You know, there's all kinds of people here in town that I think kind of like guided me and towards like what to do and what not to do. And then, I mean, there's plenty of that I have to figure out on my own, but I think I have a tendency to gravitate towards people who are older than me. So I kind of just I don't know. I try to be a very observant person and watch people make mistakes so I don't have to make them.
Yeah, and one of the cool things, and I got to give a lot of credit to Brent and kind of you and some of the other people. You know, in the late '90s and early 2000s, it still felt kind of competitive. And one of the really great things that's been happening in the Cleveland music scene over the last 15 to 20 years, it's hard to believe that it's been that long, but it has been that long. 15 to 20 years of like not being real precious, and bands playing together and everybody kind of rooting for each other and working together. And that, I mean, that's a whole lot more productive than the alternative, which is kind of where Cleveland came from. There's a lot of metal and competition and who could sell the most tickets to get on which slot at Peabody's, that
Right.
kind of a thing.
I think that part of it comes from at least in the 90s, early 2000s. It's part of a trade-off where bands were still trying to shop labels and trying to get signed, and that was the music industry was still kind of a functioning organism in terms of the way that it worked. If you got signed on a label, now you get signed on a label, it's like they basically whatever, they'll help you book a tour and they'll print your merch or whatever, but it's not, labels are independent now too, and they don't really have the money that they used to have. So I think there was probably more competition because the stakes were higher back then for where your band could go and the opportunities your band could have. Now it's kind of like you got to do it all on your own and build everything all on your own, which is a greater freedom, but it's a little more challenging. And I think in any local level, no matter what scene you're in, it only helps the whole scene for everybody to kind of lift everybody else up.
Well, that's really, it's great. It seems like a transition, at least from my viewpoint, and I think it's healthy. It's been nice to see, you talked about how the community's been helping musicians during this really crazy time. I've seen nonprofits pop up out of nowhere. I've seen people rallying around the Save Our Stages thing, because a lot of the owners, I'm wearing my Grog Shop t-shirt tonight, the Beachland, like countless other clubs are just starving. And these are small-time business owners with leases and rents and employees and all kinds of pressures. But it even with all the pain and even with all the uncertainty, it's been pretty heartening to see everybody try and stick together and try and lift each other up.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I can't, Cindy at the Beachland, to have the Beachland and then also, have Cleveland Rocks Past, Present, Future, her nonprofit that's been given money that I know has helped people pay rent and stuff during all this time. I don't. I mean, Cindy is a superhero, you know. But there's all kinds of stuff popping up. Yeah, you're right. I've seen things pop up like whoa, like, and it's been a reality check. Like, oh, there is value to this. Like, it's not you just shouting into the void saying, "Pay attention to me." You know, it's there's a thing about local music that keeps all of us connected, and that sounds kind of corny, but it's true, and I've learned it this year because I've seen how connected that we all are when I don't ask for anything, and then somebody's saying, "Hey, like, do you want some money?" or what? You know, it's been a crazy. I don't know, man. I love Cleveland, and I want to travel and go all kinds of places, but this is a cool place to live, man. It's, you know, it's just, I shouldn't be saying that. I don't want other people to start coming here and ruin it, but I don't know. It's been like I said, for me personally, with the support of everybody around, um, it's been strange because I miss people, but it's been an easy year. Other people have made this an easy year for me and other musicians, you know.
All right. Well, it's been about 34 minutes, 35 minutes. Why did I say it exactly at 34? That was weird. So I can't wait for everybody to hear the Arsenal on Friday. Where is the best place for everybody to hear it for you, for them? Do you have a preference? Is it at Bandcamp? What are we doing?
Yeah, Bandcamp is what I'm going to push on Friday. It's going to be on all whatever. I just did it through DistroKid. It's going to go on the Spotify's and the YouTube Music, whatever. Mostly Spotify is what people listen to now. But
so
also,
listen to it on Spotify, and then if you like it, go on to Bandcamp and
you
pay
need
a couple bucks for it.
Bandcamp, and you need to download it because it will also sound better on Bandcamp.
It's true.
Bandcamp is cool because, so for instance, like I went through this phase last year where I was putting out these like shitty fucking singles that were like recorded on my phone of like me playing the xylophone or whatever, and then people were like, "Is Ray all right?" Like, and it was kind of like a.
I wasn't going to ask you about 506.
Yeah, 500. Well, that's my favorite song ever. What a great tune! But 506, because I recorded that on the beach when I was on vacation, just on my iPhone, and then I put it in DistroKid, uploaded it, and within like 3 days or whatever, it's on Spotify right next to Thriller and whatever. You know, it's like whereas, you know, I tried also to put it on Bandcamp, and Bandcamp told me you're not allowed to upload that because it's not high enough quality. So because it was just it's literally a voice memo, and the picture is just I took it with my iPhone of the whatever. So
you put it in Audacity, convert it.
I didn't even do that. My point in putting that song out as a single was that Spotify is it's the Wild West in terms of quality. They don't care. You can upload a voice memo from your phone, and then they just whatever limiters and stuff they throw on everything. But anyways.
Oh, so I wasn't going to go down this road, but now I have to tell you the story. I can't remember which band did this, but they got together with their fans. They released an album of 10 songs that was like all silence, 3 minutes of silence per track. And they were like, would you guys all play this on repeat while you're sleeping?
Was it?
Yeah, probably was.
I think it was them because they get a huge following, but yeah, they did it. And then they just had it. And then didn't Spotify put something in place to stop that or something, like, because they just
were like, okay,
play it on a loop, like, which is like, whatever, that's take advantage of it. I mean, they're screwing people like real bad, but they're also not, because anybody can post anything on there. So yeah, if I get whatever 0.2 cents from 506, now the platform is such, it's just like Facebook, like my shitty uncle or whatever has an opinion, he could post it on Facebook. It has just as much value as the president's opinion. And then same with Spotify, like apparently 506 is the same value as like James Taylor's catalog or whatever, you know, it's on there on the same platform. So
I'm going to put it on the same playlist with my favorite Katy Perry songs.
Yeah, it's right up there. You know, it's right on the same, they're both on Spotify. So, but anyways, the Arsenal, the song that's coming out, Bandcamp, because also it's you whatever, it's up there. It'll be $1 or pay what you want. I'll always accept whatever. But but Bandcamp has quality control, so you could download the WAV file, which is the same file that I get sent from the person that mastered it. Adam Boos at Cauliflower Audio mastered it. Awesome. He masters all my stuff recently. He does a great job. But yeah, Bandcamp will be the place, but then you can stream it, whatever. But Bandcamp will be the place to look for it, and I'll post those links and whatever.
Yeah, and we will share them as well. Thanks so much, Ray. This was a blast. It was good to see you. I'm glad that you're doing as well as you're doing. And here's to real live gigs and getting together in real live person sometime in 2021.
Yeah, man. Cheers. Thank you so much, Craig.
Thanks.
Have a good one. Later.
All right. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.